The phone buzzed just as Emily Carter was about to put it down. She had spent the evening doing nothing special. Laundry half folded, a cup of cold tea on the table, the quiet hum of Portland rain against the windows. It was the kind of night that passed without leaving a mark. Or so she thought. One message changed that. She glanced at the screen without much interest. Then she froze. Daniel Brooks. For a second, she wondered if her phone was playing a trick on her. That name belonged to another time, another life. College years in Seattle. Long walks after class. Conversations that felt important back then, but were never finished. Her heart beat faster, annoyed at itself. Emily hadn't spoken to Daniel in nearly 8 years. They hadn't fought. They hadn't fallen apart. Life had simply moved on, pulling them in different directions. She had assumed he was gone for good, filed away with old photos and quiet what-ifs. She didn't open the message right away. She stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at the street below. Cars passed. People lived their lives. The world didn't pause just because an old memory had knocked on her door. When she finally unlocked the phone, the message was short. "Hey Emily, I know this is unexpected. I hope you're doing well." That was all.
No apology. No explanation.
No dramatic reason for reaching out. Just a simple sentence, polite and careful. Emily read it twice. She told herself it meant nothing. People reach out all the time. Old friends. Old classmates. It didn't have to mean more than that. Still, her chest felt tight. She sat back down, phone in her hand, unsure what to do next. Her mind jumped ahead too fast. Images of Daniel's smile, the way he used to listen closely, the feeling that he understood her in a way others didn't. She pushed the thoughts away. Emily had built a steady life.
A good job.
Her own apartment. Quiet routines that kept her safe.
She didn't need surprises from the past.
Her thumb hovered over the keyboard. She could ignore it. That would be easy. Safe. But something inside her didn't want to pretend Daniel had never mattered. So she typed back, keeping her words simple.
Y Daniel.
I'm doing okay. Hope you are too. She sent it before she could overthink it. The message flew off into the digital space, and suddenly there was no taking it back. Emily placed the phone face down on the table and exhaled slowly. She felt nervous, which annoyed her even more. It was just a reply. Just manners. But minutes later, her phone buzzed again. She picked it up too quickly. Didn't think you'd respond, Daniel wrote. I'm glad you did. Emily swallowed. Somewhere in Vancouver, Daniel sat alone in his apartment, staring at the screen. He hadn't expected this either. He had typed the message on impulse, driven by a quiet feeling that had followed him for years. He wasn't looking for trouble. He just wanted to know if Emily was still out there, still herself. Back in Portland, Emily leaned into her couch, staring at the ceiling. She didn't know it yet, but that small moment, the decision to reply, had already shifted something. Not loudly, not dramatically,
softly.
Like the first crack in a wall she didn't realize she had built. Emily didn't expect the messages to keep coming, but they did. It started with small things. How her day had been, a comment about the rain, a memory from college. Each note felt harmless, casual. Yet every time her phone buzzed, her heart skipped. She found herself smiling at words on a screen, feeling the warmth of familiarity she hadn't realized she missed. Daniel shared little details about his life. He had moved to Vancouver, started a new job, and adjusted to living alone after his divorce. There was no bitterness in his words, just honesty. Emily shared too, cautiously. She told him about her job at the publishing house, her quiet routines, the books she read to escape reality. They weren't flirting, not yet, but there was a connection, subtle and undeniable. They began texting every night. Nights stretched long, filled with messages about dreams, regrets, and the small quirks of their daily lives. Daniel remembered things she thought were long forgotten, her love for rainy mornings, the way she always kept a notebook for ideas, the coffee shop she adored near the library. Emily felt seen, truly seen, in a way that had been missing for years. One night, Daniel sent a message that paused her heart. Sometimes, I wonder what would have happened if I'd been braver back then. Emily stared at the words. The honesty was raw, gentle, and frightening all at once. She hadn't thought about that question in years, but now it echoed inside her. What if? What if he had tried harder? What if she had noticed the signals she ignored? Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, unsure. She typed and deleted 3 times before finally replying, careful not to reveal too much. I think we both did the best we could with who we were then. Daniel didn't respond immediately. That silence stretched, leaving her restless. She realized that she wanted him to respond, wanted his words, wanted to feel that connection even if it scared her. The conversations became deeper after that. They shared thoughts they never told anyone else. Quiet fears, unspoken hopes, the kind of confessions that usually lived only in diaries. Emily found herself waiting for his messages, planning her evenings around when he might text. She told herself it was harmless, long distance, digital, safe. But her emotions were anything but safe. One evening, Daniel sent a voice message. His voice was calm, soft, familiar, and carried more meaning than any text could. I don't want to cross a line, he said, but talking to you has reminded me that I'm still capable of feeling something real. Emily closed her eyes and listened. Her heart raced. That one statement held everything. Years apart, the tension, the memories, the quiet longing that neither of them admitted before. It was dangerous, this feeling. But it also felt right, like returning to a place she had forgotten existed. She didn't answer immediately, letting the moment linger. Hours later, Daniel sent one last text for the night. I might be visiting Portland next month. Emily read it twice. Her mind raced. Seeing him again, after all this time, was both thrilling and terrifying. Questions tumbled in her head. What had he become? Would the connection feel the same? Could she trust herself to feel again? That night, sleep didn't come easily. Every message, every voice note, every word shared had changed the rhythm of her heart. It wasn't just conversation anymore. It was the stirring of something she thought she had buried forever. And she realized, with a mixture of fear and excitement, that a simple series of messages had quietly begun to reshape her life. Emily tried to focus on her life, but it was impossible. She told herself she was being silly. Daniel was far away, and what they shared was only words on a screen. She had her routines, her apartment, her work, her life. She reminded herself she didn't need to let old feelings take over. But the truth was, she wanted them to. Every message from Daniel pulled her in. He asked about her day, about the small joys and struggles she never mentioned to anyone else. He remembered details no one else had noticed, how she liked her coffee black, how she hummed while cooking, how she sometimes paused in the middle of the street just to watch the rain. Emily found herself thinking about him at odd hours. Walking through the park, she imagined him beside her. Making a simple comment about a tree or a dog would bring a smile she couldn't explain. Every conversation with Daniel felt like a bridge from the past into a possible future she had stopped believing in. Then one evening, he said something that stopped her in her tracks. I don't want to scare you, Daniel typed, but I think I'm still capable of feeling something real, and I'm not sure I want to ignore it anymore. Emily's fingers froze. Her heart hammered. She knew exactly what he meant, even though he hadn't said it directly. This wasn't just friendship. Not anymore. But crossing that line was terrifying. She had spent years protecting herself from disappointment, from heartbreak, from longing she couldn't satisfy. She didn't reply immediately. She needed a moment to breathe, to sort through her tangled thoughts. Hours later, she finally wrote back. Her message was careful, measured. I don't know if timing is on our side, but I can't deny that it feels important. The words felt heavy and light all at once. They admitted curiosity, longing, and caution. Daniel responded with a smiley, simple and understated, yet Emily could feel the emotion behind it. The days that followed were filled with quiet intensity. They shared personal victories, small regrets, and dreams they had long avoided. Daniel asked questions about her fears and her hopes. Emily answered honestly, even when it hurt to admit that she sometimes felt lonely, even when surrounded by people. Then came the voice message, his calm voice filling the space of her apartment. I don't want to rush, Emily. I want to be honest. I've missed this connection more than I realize. She listened with eyes closed, heart tightening. Each word seemed to reach inside her and touch memories she had carefully stored away. Memories of late-night conversations, of quiet understanding, of moments that had left their mark without anyone realizing it. They began imagining possibilities. Not bold or reckless ones, just simple ideas. Dinner in the city, a walk in the park, a coffee at the shop they both remembered fondly. It was still hypothetical, still safe in the realm of conversation, but the tension of what might happen hummed quietly under the surface. Then, one night, Daniel sent a short message that made her pause. I might come to Portland next month. Emily's breath caught. Seeing him in person, after all this time, was no longer a distant thought. It was real, tangible, and terrifyingly close. She tried to push down the anticipation, tried to tell herself it was just a visit, but her mind refused. She pictured him walking into her apartment, smiling that same smile she had never forgotten. Sleep eluded her again. The excitement, the fear, the longing, everything swirled inside her. She realized the truth. This wasn't about texts anymore. It was about choices, about courage, about whether she was ready to let someone back into her life in a way she had avoided for years. And for the first time in a long while, Emily felt that thrilling, unsettling pull towards something she couldn't control, but desperately wanted. Emily woke early, her mind buzzing with the thought of Daniel. The night had been restless. She kept turning over what his last message meant. I might be visiting Portland next month. Just that one sentence, and yet it had changed everything. She paced her small apartment, glancing at her phone, imagining his face, his voice. It was a mixture of excitement and fear, like standing on the edge of something new but unknown. She had spent years protecting herself, building routines that kept life safe. Now suddenly, the past and present were colliding. All morning, she replayed their conversations in her head. The messages, the memories, the voice notes, they weren't just words anymore. They had become threads pulling her toward him, pulling her toward something she had almost forgotten existed. Hope. She tried to focus on work, on emails, on any task that could distract her, but nothing worked. Every ping of her phone made her heart jump. Finally, she decided to stop fighting it. She needed clarity, not avoidance. By midday, she typed a message carefully, deliberately, weighing every word. If you come, I'd like to see you. She hesitated a moment, then hit send. A wave of nervous energy rushed through her. It wasn't bold or desperate. It was honest. It was a choice. For the first time in years, she was letting someone back into her life, not recklessly, but with intention. Hours passed. Emily tried to distract herself, walking through the city streets, noticing the way the light hit the buildings, the sound of distant traffic. But her thoughts kept returning to Daniel. She imagined his expression when he read her message, imagined what it would be like to hear his voice, to see the familiar spark in his eyes. Then her phone buzzed. Daniel's reply was short, calm, and warm. I'd like that too. Emily's chest tightened, a mix of relief and excitement. It was enough. Not a declaration, not a promise of forever, just the first step toward something real. She realized that everything had shifted, not because of some grand gesture, but because of honesty and choice. The next days were filled with quiet anticipation. Emily prepared herself mentally, thinking about the conversations they would have, the coffee shops they might visit, the small moments that would define this reunion. Each text from Daniel felt like a bridge being built between their past and the possibilities of the future. She remembered how it all started, a simple message, almost accidental, almost meaningless. She had almost ignored it. And yet, that tiny nudge had unlocked feelings, memories, and hope that she had long buried. Emily sat by her window one evening, watching the city lights flicker. She realized something important. It wasn't just about Daniel visiting. It was about her being ready to embrace life fully again, to let herself feel, to take risks, to allow connection instead of fear. When Daniel finally arrived in Portland, The city seemed brighter somehow. Emily spotted him across the street, and the years melted away. The nervousness was still there, but so was a quiet certainty. They had both changed, grown, experienced life separately, but now they had a chance to create something together. As they walked toward each other, smiles appearing slowly but surely, Emily felt the truth of what had begun weeks ago. A simple message had shifted her world. Not magically, not easily, but gently, deliberately. It reminded her that some moments, small and quiet, could hold the power to change everything. And for Emily, that was enough to step forward, into the unknown, into possibility, and into a story that was just beginning.